Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a fascinating set of ideas, all centered on, well, a pretty massive question. How do you build a genuinely successful life?
We are, and we're drawing from the wisdom of the legendary Harvard Business School professor, Howard H. Stevenson, especially from the insights he put together in his book, Howard's Gift.
And we have to start with the context here because it's really high stakes. This isn't just theory.
Not at all. I mean, these are lessons born from survival. Stevenson had an unattended cardiac arrest on campus. He was given, what, a 1% chance of survival?
1%.
And when you come back from something like that, the way you define what actually matters, it tends to sharpen your focus. That urgency is in every lesson.
That really changes everything. So he wasn't just looking for a better business model. He was looking for a better life model. And the original research he did with Laura Nash, it all started with this one question, right?
A really frustrating one that you hear everywhere. Why is it so hard for successful people to have successful children?
And he found this was a universal problem.
Absolutely. He had this great phrase for it. Rice paddies to rice paddies, clogs for clogs, bogs to bogs. It doesn't matter what your version of success is. This generational, let's call it a disconnect. It happens everywhere.
But the research immediately hit a wall, which I love.
It did.
Because you can't figure out why the kids aren't successful if you haven't even defined what success is for the parents.
Exactly. He realized the traditional definitions, the bank account, the job title, they were just totally insufficient. The whole conversation was built on a faulty premise.
We tend to think of success as this end state, a finish line you cross.
Right, like that old advice from Herodotus.
Yeah.
Count no man successful till he dies. Stevenson's reaction to that was pretty funny. He basically said, I tried that, it doesn't work.
Of course not. You can't live your whole life just waiting to see what your obituary says to know if you won.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the core problem is that success, the way we usually think about it is just, it's unstable. It's hard to measure. It's uneven.
Uneven? What do you mean by that?
Well, he talked really powerfully about his own life, dealing with divorce, single parenthood. Suddenly, he had to give up some nice activity he'd planned for himself for ages. Why? Because he had to be the one driving his kids.
So on the conventional scorecard, that's a failure, a step back.
A huge step back. But for his own value system, it was essential. That perfectly illustrates this trap he called the velvet-lined rut.
The idea that if you just do something for 10,000 hours, you'll be a master and everything will be great.
But that only works if nothing ever goes wrong. If your priorities never, ever shift, it builds zero resilience.
And this rut creates a really destructive mindset in parents, doesn't it? The fired bullet idea.
Yes. The successful parent, usually the father in his examples, fires a bullet of his career, sees where it lands, and then draws a big circle around it, says, see that? That's success. Now you go do that too.
But the world has changed completely. Starting a hedge fund in the 70s is a totally different universe from starting one today.
Exactly. It's a failure to see that your path was unique to your time. And the result of just focusing on that one bullet is its isolation. You leave out family, community. He had one person say to him, I just don't know who me is.
Wow. To get to the top and realize you don't recognize yourself, that's chilling. So what were the internal fears he saw in people chasing that path?
He pointed to three great fears, especially among the HBS grads he taught. First is the obvious one we all have. I won't be a success.
Okay, standard.
The second is maybe more subtle. I will be a success, but it won't be enough.
The Peggy Lee song. Is that all there is?
That's the one. And the third is the moral fear. I'll be a success, but I'll have to sell my soul to get there.
I think we all wrestle with that second one. And it all comes back to this core distinction he makes between success and happiness.
It does. A piece of wisdom he got from his mother, actually. Success is getting what you want, and happiness is wanting what you get.
One is about getting, the other is about having. Acquisition versus appreciation.
You've got it. And on that topic, he had one piece of relationship advice he always gave his kids. It's maybe the most practical tip in this whole deep dive.
Which is?
Marry a happy person. Because you just cannot change an unhappy one.
That is solid advice for anyone listening. Okay, so if that traditional path fails, how did he build a better model? Where did his framework come from?
Well, he and his co-author went out and interviewed 150 high achievers. But they had to meet two criteria.
Okay.
They had to be successful in multiple parts of life, and they had to be people who genuinely cared about others and kept growing. And the group was incredibly diverse. Investment bankers, VCs, even a cleaning woman who started her own successful firm.
So it was not just about money.
Not at all. And from all those stories, they pulled out these four separate, distinct dimensions of a successful life. He calls them the four satisfactions.
This is the core of the framework. Let's unpack them.
Okay, first is achievement. This is the one we all know. It's money, power, fame. It's measured against what other people are striving for. It's competitive.
That's the scoreboard.
Exactly. Number two is significance. And this is totally different. This is about having a positive impact on the people you care about.
Okay.
His best example was his own grandfather, an assistant postmaster, so not a high achievement job. But he was also a Silver Beaver Scout who had this profound impact on hundreds of young people. That's significance.
A really powerful distinction. What's number 3?
Happiness or contentment. This is all about me and now, feeling good about yourself and your life today. And he's clear, this is subjective. He even used the funny example of a trustafarian in Aspen who's just skiing all day. He might not be achieving much, but he's happy.
So the one everyone claims to want, happiness, is totally decoupled from the one everyone chases, achievement.
Totally. And the last one, number 4, is legacy. This is your impact on the future, what you leave behind for others to build on. But the key here, and it can be a painful one, is that legacy is defined by other people, not you.
Like Karl Marx.
Perfect example. By all accounts, Marx was mean, unhappy, abusive to his family, so a failure on significance. But his legacy, absolutely massive. It shaped centuries.
Which brings us to what has to be the most critical finding. These 4 things are completely uncorrelated.
Completely. Winning in one gives you no guarantee of winning in the others.
Yeah.
Think of Marilyn Monroe or Ernest Hemingway.
Right. Massive achievement, fame, awards, everything.
But happiness and contentment, clearly not there. And the opposite is true, too. You can have immense significance in your community and be deeply happy with 0 public achievement.
So if they're separate, they must have different drivers.
They do. Achieving can be driven by positive things like mastery or pride, but often it's negative. Envy, greed, fear, comparing yourself to others.
And significance.
That's driven by caring, altruism, generosity, wonderful things for building a future. But they won't necessarily help you win a zero-sum game, and they don't even guarantee you'll be happy yourself.
Realizing there are 4 different scorecards just blows up the most common life plan, which he called sequential success.
It's the plan everyone defaults to. I'll kill myself working for 20 years to maximize achievement, then I'll find significance, then I'll be happy, and my legacy will just sort of happen.
And this plan fails every single time. Why?
2 reasons. One is mathematical, and one is human. The math one is simple. You can always add 1. There's no largest number. So if achievement is your driver, the finish line just keeps moving. There's always more money to make, another promotion to get.
The goalpost is always 10 yards further down the field. And the human reason.
The human reason is that family, relationships, happiness, they don't wait. You can't just put them on hold until you hit $10 million in the bank. Those connections will either wither or they'll shatter.
So if sequencing fails, what's the alternative? This is where his big analogy comes in. He hated the word balance.
Hated it. He said balance makes you think of a static image, like a seal balancing a ball on its nose. Life isn't static. It's constant motion.
So his solution is?
Juggling, an active dynamic model.
Okay, so we have 4 balls in the air. Achievement, significance, happiness, and legacy. What are the rules for juggling them?
3 rules. 1, you have to keep your eye on all the balls all the time. You can't just ignore one.
Okay.
2, when you touch a ball, you have to give it energy and direction. You're actively moving them forward, not just holding them.
And the 3rd rule? He said this was the most important one.
The most important ball is the falling ball, the one you're about to drop. You have to be hyper-aware of which domain is slipping.
And this is where the stakes get really high. He made this distinction between the types of balls.
He did. Your career, he said, is often a rubber ball. If you drop it for a bit, it'll probably bounce back. But family, relationships, your own happiness, those are often glass balls. They can shatter.
That is such a powerful image. It completely reframes how you think about risk. So how does this juggling act change over a lifetime?
Well, in your early career, achievement is usually that big, bright red ball you're throwing highest. But that is the exact time you have to define what makes you happy and build your connections. He said if you don't know what makes you happy by your 30s, you need to stop and figure it out.
So in your mid-career?
Legacy starts to peek over the horizon. Often it's triggered by something, the death of a friend or a health scare, a wake-up call. And then in the golden years, the focus shifts again. Achievement is mostly done. The main job is keeping the relationship and contentment balls in the air.
The need to manage all these shifting priorities leads to the third big surprise from his work, the idea of enough.
Yes, it's a concept almost nobody talks about, but it's the key that makes juggling possible. The word has a lower bound, have I done enough today? But it also has a critical upper bound. Okay, that's enough. I'm stopping now.
And without that upper bound that I'm stopping now, you can't juggle. The achievement ball just takes over everything.
That's its function. It works on two levels. First, dimensionality. What is enough achievement? If you don't set a limit, the urge for more crowds out everything else. Second, time. What is enough for today?
He has some really practical strategies for that, for defining enough for today.
He did. He talked about making small, realistic, daily to-do lists, just so you can get the satisfaction of actually finishing. He'd start with the easy tasks to build momentum. His wife started with the hardest. But the goal was the same, that feeling of completion.
And I love his financial strategy for enough.
Right. He kept a personal balance sheet that included the money he'd given away to charity, to his kids. He was actively managing it down so he wouldn't die the richest person in the cemetery.
So setting limits isn't a weakness, it's actually a strength.
It's a superpower. It increases the dimensionality of your success because it forces you to put one ball down and pick up another. He told this story about a super wealthy friend living in this absurd 300-foot-long house.
And the friend was worried about what?
He was worried about spoiling his kids by giving them too much money.
Wait, he's living in a palace but is worried about the money spoiling them.
It's totally backwards.
Yeah.
And Stevenson called him on it. He said, "Your kids are already living in excess." The friend had no internal sense of enough, so he couldn't see the contradiction. Setting that limit was the only way to recenter the family's values.
Success without limits is just another kind of prison. Okay, so let's pull all these lessons together. What are the final actionable truths he leaves us with?
The biggest one is to start at the end. What do you want people to say about you when you're gone? Because, as he said, nobody publishes your balance sheet in your obituary.
They talk about your significance and your legacy.
Exactly. And another tough one for high achievers. You are not going to get an A+ in everything. Juggling means accepting some B-minuses. And finally, always remember, everybody's outside looks better than your inside. Stop comparing your messy reality to their perfect highlight reel.
So, when you're looking at your own life right now, what are the questions we should be asking ourselves?
First, am I at an inflection point? A place where the path forward isn't clear. He says you should see that as a gift, a perfect opportunity to change direction.
And is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yes. Are you squeezing grape suits when you really want orange juice? Are your efforts actually aligned with the satisfactions you value?
And the really tough one, am I cheating at solitaire? Am I kidding myself about how things are really going?
And that self-check has to include your environment, your culture. He loved Frank Batten's philosophy. Profit is a constraint, not a goal. The goal is serving customers. If you're in a culture where profit is the only goal, it's going to be very hard to juggle those other three balls.
Let's end on his final rules for living. First, live life forward.
Right. Don't waste energy on the past. He told the funny story about an Irish minister who was still fighting a land war from the 1600s. You have to accept the past and focus on today.
Second rule, form an individual board of directors.
Don't rely on one mentor. Find different people for different parts of your life. One for finance, one for family, one for your own contentment.
And the final piece of wisdom, which I think sums it all up.
Plan for the ripple, not the splash. Our culture is obsessed with the big splash, the IPO, the big win. But Stevenson found that the ripples, the quiet, unexpected, lasting impact you have on other people, that's the most satisfying part of a life.
That shifts everything from personal gain to lasting connection. So as we wrap up, a final thought for you to take away. Stevenson would advise you to look at your own drivers right now. Are they positive mastery, pride, helping others? Or are they negative envy, greed, fear? Knowing where your energy comes from tells you which balls you're really juggling.
And the final takeaway test you can take right now is to ask yourself this. Which of the four satisfactions, achievement, significance, happiness, or legacy, if any, are you on the way to missing? That question helps you identify your falling ball. And the time to answer it isn't when you retire, it's the rest of your life, which is just another way of saying today.